You can have it all, but you have to surrender. It's not a contradiction. They're just stages in consciousness. Stages are not linear. Once you understand the laws and you begin to use the laws, then the laws begin to use you. You can't really make something happen. You're really making something welcome. They would say, if you don't stop crying, I'm gonna give you something to cry about. But the universe says, if you don't stop being grateful, I'm gonna give you something to be grateful for. If you're able to train yourself to be grateful, even when it's hard, then you're not blocking the blessings of the universe. People are suffering from an intention deficit disorder. They are reactors rather than cosmic actors in their own play. Every being is a unique expression of God. It got everybody right the first time. But we have to discover that. When you see the God in somebody, the whole thing changes. We are a holographic expression of the cosmos. Our compassion and our love is affecting everybody, but so is our hate. We're like cells in a big petri dish beating together, and that's affecting the entire world. The vibration, the frequency of the earth has risen, so there is an evolution and a revolution taking place. It's not televised by mass media. If you were to take over the world tomorrow, would the world be any different?
One of my favorite pieces of teachings was actually there was someone you were teaching mystical spiritual studies, and someone goes, "Hey Rev, there's an inconsistency amongst what I'm learning here in the terms. Can you explain?" Because I think many of us find that we're on our journey, we're learning, and it's like, oh, but this says this and this says that, and it just becomes so difficult to reconcile that you're trying to grow, but you're actually getting more and more stuck in the weeds. Can you explain how you leveled it out for her?
I think that particular experience you're talking about, I was teaching I was a faculty member at a school of ministry, and someone raised their hand and she said, there seems to be a contradiction. Yeah. On one hand, the book is saying you can have it all, imagine it, see it. But on the other hand, the other part of the book says, but you have to surrender. You have to let go. She said, I can't reconcile those two things. So I walked up to the blackboard and I began to teach. I said, basically, it's not a contradiction. They're just stages in consciousness. The first stage, people are operating from a state of unconsciousness. They're a victim to the world, victim to the circumstances, their heredity, whatever it is, something is doing something to them. And then they begin to understand the universal laws. They begin to understand that they can, with their mind, begin to have intention, begin to visualize, begin to, with their mouth, begin to declare, decree, and affirm. They can begin to shift their point of view and change their experience. That's stage 2. Stage 3 is surrender. Once you understand the laws and you begin to use the laws, then the laws begin to use you. You begin to let go. You begin to allow, because something within you is beginning to understand that you can't really make something happen. It looks like you can, but you're really making something welcome. There's something that's already happening in the cosmos. So that's stage 3. Stage 4 is, stage 1 is to me, something is happening to me. Stage 2 is something is happening by me. Stage 3, something is happening through me. Stage 4 is something happening as me. And so it's like, you don't say that training wheels are contradicting a bicycle. They are a stage in riding a bicycle. At a certain point, you don't need the training wheels. You just pop wheelies, you go down hills, you're able to free fall. Whoa! Go to the Olympics and whatever, But so I broke that down, and that became an integral part of the teaching leading to visioning. So it popped up out of that question, the to me, by me, through me, as me. Bam, Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really, I do want to get into the weeds with it a little bit with you, but I also want to just get meta on it for a second, because you've been doing this work for 30 more years now. And having that map in my mind already in just the 7 years I've been active sort of in this space, I've been watching more and more people evolving through the levels.
Yes.
And I feel like society at large is going through a shift at the moment. Do you feel that we're actually shifting
Oh my
rather
God,
rapidly
yes.
through the levels at present? Can you speak to that transformation that's collectively going on?
Listen, okay, I've been teaching over 40 years, okay? Agape is 38 years old this year, and I was teaching before I started Agape. I was doing seminars
Congratulations. Uh,
and I was doing a lot of private clientele at the time. So what I've witnessed is that if you go back, this is, years ago, a lot of this stuff was woo woo. A lot of this stuff was, people would rather, if they're reading the books and they'd have a book cover, if somebody said, "What are you reading?" They may say, "Oh, porn." They'd rather say porn than to say this stuff. You know what I mean? So we've witnessed a revolution in consciousness in the last 30 or 40 years, where now this that we're teaching is validated by science. You have epigenetics that has emerged. You have quantum physics that have emerged. You have evolutionary biology that has emerged. That didn't exist. You have transformational psychology. When I was going to college and I was going through a big awakening, they didn't have transformational psychology. I thought I was going crazy. So within these last 30, 40 years, this is in the language, it's on the internet, it's everywhere. And so you have that happening. And then you have the fact that the vibration, the frequency of the earth has risen. The earth is more conscious. And so there is an evolution and a revolution taking place. It's not televised by mass media, because they're basically just pawns of an old paradigm. It's basically being televised through podcasts such as this. It's being, conferences, spiritual communities, and we're all we're like cells in a big petri dish, vibrating together. Even though we're all different parts of the world, we're all like beating together, and that's affecting the entire world. And so you're seeing a major change. Again, you're not going to see it on television, because those people are actors and they are reporting from an old paradigm. And what we're doing, we're in the moment of our own revelation, having conversations about what's emerging. So they're reporting about what's dying as if it's news. We're reporting about what's emerging, and it really is news. It's new. You see? So yeah, I could say unequivocally that there's a great revolution happening in consciousness, and for me, I can see it everywhere I go, you know, and it's you see the death knell of the old happening. All the might makes right, wars, rumors of wars, people fighting, trying to hold on to power, uh, you know, trying to make that normal. It's dying. People are waking up all over the world saying there's got to be a better way. You see, and people are not just walking lockstep within the status quo anymore. People are waking up. Yeah.
There does seem to be a bit of a disconnect between the actual people of like, and because I was talking to Marianne Williamson just yesterday, and she was like, there's such a disconnect between like, I'll use America or Australia as an example, like between the Australian people or the American people and the leaders of America
Yes.
and the leaders of Australia, and just how they operate versus this sort of, underneath the iceberg, actually there's a lot of good stuff actually emerging.
There's a lot of connection happening. There's a lot of different modalities of healing, education, farming. There's so many things that are emerging by awake and conscious citizens that are not necessarily at the level of politicians and potentates and dictators and uh, soulless bureaucrats. You know what I mean? It's totally different. However, and nothing new has ever come from the political realm. It's never born at the level of the government. It's always born from people. And then the government tries to get in front of it and catch up, you see? And so it's about, I want people to know that as citizens of the globe, not just your nationality, that's limited, it's too limited. That's like being stuck in a religion. The next religion is the country you came from. No, 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 no. We're all world citizens. And so as a world citizen, we're more powerful than we think. People don't know how powerful we are. They think, oh, I got to look up to the president and I got to look up to the prime minister, and they're the ones. No, they're not. They're not. We're the ones. So as we wake up, we shift the whole narrative. And when the narrative shifts and the story changes, emergence happens. And, as Victor Hugo said, you cannot stop an idea whose time has come. And we're in the middle of that birth, you see. It's breach. It's a little intense. But it's still going to happen. That baby's going to happen.
Talking about waking up, you had an awakening within a dream that set
Yeah.
so many things in motion.
Oh, yeah.
Can you describe that to us? Because it felt pretty
That
intense.
was my original awakening as an adult. I had many mystical experiences as a child, but I would quickly try to normalize myself. I didn't, it was too much. So I would just get normal, whatever normal was.
Mm.
But when I was attending USC, I was a psychobiology major, and I had, first of all, I had a deep experience that compelled me to go to USC. I had been attending Morehouse College in Atlanta, Georgia, and I was a part of this very radical group. And we were having a meeting, and someone behind me said, "If you were to take over the world tomorrow, would the world be any different?" So I turned around to see who said it, and there was nobody there. We continued with the meeting. The voice said it again, but this time it was coming from inside of me. So I looked around the room, and I could see the pathology of those in the meeting. This person was territorial. This person always had to be right. This person was a power broker. He always wanted to run. I could see it. It was just very clear. And I said, wow, the world wouldn't be any different. So anyway, I never went back. And the next week, somebody in that meeting shot somebody. An argument ensued, and somebody pulled out a gun and shot somebody. But I wasn't there to be a part of that because the voice had said that, asked me that question. So right after that, I enrolled in USC, psychobiology major. I planned to go to med school, and I started having these inner experiences. And again, I didn't have any context for the experience. I'm astral traveling. I'm flying in other dimensions. So the first thing I did is I stopped smoking weed. I said, this has got to be the cannabis sativas. This has got to be, So I
I
stopped
can see
smoking
how
weed.
you'd put that together. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, but the experience is intensified, you know, and the experience you're talking about. So there was a lucid dream. I would lucid dream a lot, and I'd be in this dream, and these men were in the distance, and they looked like they were chasing me. But I always make myself wake up before they could catch me. But every night they were a little bit closer. So one night they were very close. I can see that I can make out the outline of their faces. I turned to my right, and there was a small tent with thousands and thousands of people trying to fit into this very small tent. I knew every single person standing in line. And I said to myself, these men can't harm me. All of my friends are with me. And I turned to my right, and one by one, they all turned their back on me. Two of the men got me, and they held me down. And another man took out a knife and killed me, slammed the knife through my heart. The pain was excruciating physically. It was real pain. And emotionally, just killed. And I died. And when I woke up, I could see differently. The love, I was penetrated with so much love. Love was just bombarding my entire being. And the beauty was everywhere. The lint in the rug was alive. Everything, animate and inanimate objects are just glowing with God's light. And I'd come from an atheist. I was kind of agnostic at this time in my life. And it just took me over. And my name for the presence for a long time was just simply love, beauty. I didn't use the word God. I used the word love, beauty. But it opened me up, and I could never get back in the box again. It was out. And so I lost my friends. They thought I'd freaked out on Jesus. You know what I mean? And it took me a while to integrate the higher realms, for lack of a better word. I had to, because I was way out here. I changed my name. I was reading the Upanishads and the Bhagavad Gita and the Dhammapada and the teachings of Jesus.
You're the
Anyway,
infinite soul,
yeah,
Paramatma.
yeah. So I changed my name to Paramatman. And
Paramatma.
yeah, and I stayed. That was a couple of years. I had that, and I was doing writings from that, and then I let it go and embraced Michael again, and so that my human could integrate with the divine. So it wouldn't be a separate, it would be like I'm channeling something. You know what I mean? It's like, and so that was a big opening. And it still unfolds. It's not like one and done. Revelation isn't one and done. It's a continual insights, embodiment, unfoldment, shift. So for years there's been going into the light, being blinded by the light, getting information, integrating, embodiment. That was the initial one as an adult, but there have been others that were very intense. But I'm more mature, with it now, so I'm not like, then that was a shock. What happened to me, and I bumped into the teachings of Walter Russell.
Oh, the
He was
secrets
my
of the light.
Yeah,
Oh,
that was one of my first teachers back in the 70s.
yeah.
And but
Incredible
when I read,
guy.
huh? What do you
Incredible
say?
guy.
Oh yeah, no, really. He made me realize I wasn't crazy, because when I heard what happened to him, and I'd gone into this vast expansion of consciousness, I said he gave me like a roadmap. And then there was another man that I used to go. And this is out of my body. I'd meet these people out of my body. I'd go to classes outside my body. And it's interesting because I'm talking about that more and more now. But in the early days, I never talked to anybody about it because people thought I was a bit weird. But there's another guy that would teach me. And then one night, I'm out of my body and I'm in a class, and he says, "Today the class is going to be taught by Michael Beckwith." And I'm a little shocked, you know. And so I walk up to the front of the class and I say, "Well, the basic law of this aspect of the universe is it is done unto you as you believe." And I started counting. It is done unto you as you believe. 8. It's 8. And I'm aware that I'm awake. I'm alive. I'm in a lucid dream, but all these people are there. This is all really happening. And a bead of sweat rolled down the side of my face. And I woke up in my bed sweating, you know, and because it was a shock. Because up until this moment, I know it's happening, but at the same time, there's a little feeling like this is just a dream. But it wasn't. So fast forward. So this guy was teaching me, and some other people. I had a lot of teachers on the other side, and they were like reminding me what I knew. You see, and he said, "You're going to take the teaching very far." I remember him telling me that. So one day, I'm at a metaphysical church, and the bust of him is there. I'm like 20, maybe I'm 24 at the time, and I said, "Oh, I know this man." And they said, "You don't know this man. This man died in the 60s." And I said, "No, I know him. I meet with him at night. He teaches me." And so all of the elders were looking at me like I was nuts. And so that's when I shut up. I just stopped talking about it because even though these people were at a metaphysical community, this was still too outlandish for them. So I just kind of shut down on my inner experiences and took the classes, got some great language from it, and got some great community from it. And that guy was Ernest Holmes. He was the founder of the Science of Mind. That was him.
Oh, such a great
You
book as
know,
well. Yeah.
yeah. So I met him before I went to a Science of Mind center. He was one of my teachers. So so that initial opening uh, was big for me. Opened my heart, and I was in understand for a period of time, for a couple of years, I had extreme heart pains. There'd be moments where I couldn't even breathe. Okay. If I took a deep little bit of breath, the stabbing my heart would be so severe. And they would call the doctors, the ambulance would come to my house and they would check my vitals. Never found anything wrong with me. So your heart is fine. Everything is great. But I couldn't breathe and it happened. So I went to this, it's interesting. I haven't talked about this in a long time. Uh, uh, I went to an energetic balancer, this guy named Eliezer Ben Joseph. That was his name. And he scanned my body and said that there was the Kundalini energy was being released and that it was getting blocked on the heart chakra. And so he touched me in the bottom of my spine. He did something to the bottom of my spine and it released all this energy through me. The pain dissipated and I could take a deep breath. Oh my God. and he gave me some exercises to do. He said to me, "You have bad inner posture." He said, you need to fall in love with who you are, And he had me do these exercises to open all of this up, and the pain dissipated. Every now and then it would come, but only if there was an onrush of energy coming through me. It was a reminder that something was happening, and I would do the exercises, free it, and then it it would it would it would balance in me, you know. So yeah, you're reminding me of a whole lot of things I've been through that I hadn't even really thought about in a long time.
Hey there, guys. We're about to dive in even deeper with Reverend Michael Bernard Beckwith. This is such an incredible conversation. We have conversations like this twice a week on the podcast, and everything you see around here is powered and empowered by your subscription to this channel. If I can humbly request, please do take a moment to subscribe. To all of you that are subscribed, thank you so much for your subscription. And for those of you that are about to subscribe, please do take a moment, hit subscribe to the channel. The button's just below. And without too much further ado, back to today's episode. Thank you so much for your incredible love and support. I find your experiences, fascinating for one. And also just, I can imagine, 38 years ago, 40 years ago, when you started talking about it, it would have been like, because even, I'm sure at certain points you felt kind of, well, one of the questions, I was going to use the word schizophrenic because I've heard you say it before. I don't want to label you, but actually the point I wanted to ask you was, when you're witnessing the bust of Walter Russell, and you're like, oh, I know this man, and people are like, oh, no, you don't, and it's like,
yeah, that was Ernest Holmes. That bust was Ernest Holmes.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, Ernest Holmes. And then, because for most people, what happens is they don't just stop talking about it; they stop being about it. Because then they're pulled off their center. Did you feel that a little bit, or was it just? Do you notice? Do you know what I'm talking about though? Because many people would sort of just shut down the entire thing, but and then we just get pulled off our center in terms of like, that's not allowed in my tribe and my community because we're so wired for tribalism, right? I just wanted you to speak to that a little bit.
No, that didn't happen because I couldn't unsee what I've seen, and my mother was the person in the family that. I was born in Washington, D.C. I was actually born in Maryland, but my father moved us out to Los Angeles. So most of my family is in D.C. Whenever somebody made their transition, a family member, an aunt or whatever, an uncle, grandparent, my mother would go with them. She would leave her body and go with them and help bring them to the other side. So she would wake us up as little kids and say, Aunt Marie just passed or Aunt so-and-so just passed. How do you know, Mom? Oh, I went with them. And then they said, Alice, it's not your time to go. So when this opening happened, my mother, who had been going to a metaphysical church, was all about it. She was like really encouraging it, and I couldn't unsee what I had seen. So when I went to this community, even though they thought I was a bit odd, this young boy saying he knows Ernest Holmes, I just didn't talk about it to them. I didn't stop believing because I couldn't shut it. She couldn't shut it off. I couldn't shut it off. And I just said, you're really missing out on a good conversation here. You're reading about it in a book, but I can tell you something. I can tell it to you directly.
I can only imagine what those chats must have been like. It's one of the things that's also stood out for me as I tuned in deeper and deeper into your work is there's many people in the collective at the moment experiencing plant medicines, doing work like that, and having these sort of I want to call them peak experiences, but I also mean that in sort of the two frames of the word, because it's kind of like it's a peak experience, but it's also like a peak. It's kind of like you're peeking behind the veil, whereas actually it's possible, like you're describing, to actually build internal architecture, internal structure, and actually have a system whereby you're actually integrating this in a much more grounded fashion. That sounds like I'm, not respecting a whole realm of plant medicines, but I think you get the essence of what I'm trying to articulate. Like you're actually integrating it into a waking state.
I respect plant medicine, and I've done it. When I've done it, but as you indicated, you have to have some level of practice that leads to embodiment. So even if you do plant medicine and you don't have a a lifestyle, a way of living, then it is going to be just a peak experience. It's going to be a memory. It's going to be like, 2 years ago, I did plant medicine and I had this really great or not so great experience. But if you have a way of life that's built upon meditation, it's built upon study, it's built upon, understanding your breath, it's built upon something, then you can take plant medicine and it integrates that. You become integrated. You take that experience and it becomes integrated, not just, oh, I had this, and then there was a period of time where people were just kind of pretending to be shaman and having like Friday night, Saturday night parties, and everybody's on plant medicine and things like that. So they were actually not respecting 1,000-year-old tradition that indigenous
Mm-hmm.
people live by. It's a part of their culture. And it's not just a peak experience, it's actually an integrative experience where they're getting messages, they're getting information, they're getting wisdom, they're getting guidance and direction from Mother Aya, you know. So, everything can be abused, you know. So I have deep respect for it.
Mm.
And I know authentic, authentic shaman, I'm associated with Rhythmia, the Life Advancement Center in Costa Rica, you know. And when the Taita comes in, he comes from a long lineage of Colombian shaman, He's not fooling around, you know what I mean? And but as you say, many people are getting the peak experience and peeking into it, but now they have to do the work. They have to do the work in order to embody and understand and articulate the insight that they caught. So it's not just a one and done. Yeah.
Hey there, guys. Quick question. This has been such an incredibly rich conversation, and I just want to know what it is that you're taking away from this particular conversation in the comments below. Are there questions that you have that I can ask for the Reverend next time round? I'd love to hear from you. Please leave a comment below. And back to the episode. So we will tuck that back into the 4 levels of consciousness and what the work looks like. I'd love to just hear from you, because you're a big proponent for good nutrition, looking after our bodies. I just want to, like, for those that are tuning in, your sort of loose morning routine, like obviously every morning's kind of different, but your loose morning routine, if you can, because I think
Yeah.
meditation can sound like such a big ask for some people, but then also, I just wanted to feel into.
I look at meditation, first of all, for the novice as an inner shower. You're not going to go out into the public. You're not going to go to your place of employment or whatever and not shower up, clean up. So when you're meditating, you're taking an inner shower. You're coming into a greater awareness of your authentic nature, not just the personality construct, not just the woundedness or the trauma, but you're actually starting to have insight into your real nature. So meditation is my go-to. So when I wake up, like today, last few days was a little bit different. I've been waking up at 2 in the morning, which is kind of early, and I realize now I've been traveling on the East Coast, so I'm probably more regulated to that time zone. So I was wondering why I keep waking up so early. Because I generally get up like 4, but I've been waking up at 2. So I've been using the extra hours. I'm laying in the bed, I relax, I scan my body from toe to head, and just give the permission for the body to be totally healthy. And then I'm just telling you what I did today. And that'll give you my normal. And then while I'm in this zone, I start conferring blessings on the people in my life. I'm knowing the truth about them. And then there are people who have invited me to hold them in prayer. I'm praying for them. I'm praying for the Agape community. I'm praying for anybody connected with it. I expand until I'm embracing all sentient beings on the planet. So I get up. It's a little after 4:00, around 4:30 or so. I make my warm water with my lemon, my minerals, my electrolytes, and I drink the water with systemic enzyme. That's the first thing I take in the morning. I take systemic, and those are empty stomach enzymes, and that clears away all kinds of debris out of your body and slows down the aging process and things. And then, I don't take anything for about 20 minutes. Then after that, I make a special herbal tea that has beautiful ingredients for the brain and energy and things like that. And I take a certain level of supplements. Then I meditate for a moment. It's not a long time, 10, 15 minutes. Then I go to the gym, I work out, I do a physical workout. And then I come home, shower, get ready. Then I sit and have a formal meditation. And that meditation time is determined by what my morning looks like. Do I have an early morning meeting? Do I have late morning? So I'll sit. And then after I sit, then I make a smoothie. And the smoothie, I don't eat any solid food till the afternoon. So I'm sitting, I meditate, and I have my own product. You mentioned it. I have my own food green drinks. It's 47 different plant-based ingredients, very nutritionally dense. I use that as a base. I have avocado, I have blueberries. I make my own milks, almond, walnut, cashew, macadamia nut milk, and then pour all that in there, along with other stuff, apples, different stuff. And I drink. That's my first meal of the day. So then I'm not going to eat again until I go to the office and have lunch later. So I'm liquid all the way up to lunch, and then there's a meal. So today I had a nice organic Caesar salad with some organic fettuccine. I don't do a lot of pastas, but I wanted some today. I needed. I had a nice workout today. And so I did so I had meetings. Now I'm with you. so
Yeah.
so the basic is. So the other thing I didn't say was when I wake up, when I put my feet on the ground, I wake up and I go back like this, and I give thanks that I'm grateful that I'm alive. I'm grateful that I exist. And sometimes I'll laugh. I'm grateful I'm alive. And then I surrender to life. I surrender to life. And then I ask for the energy and the power to handle anything that comes. I call it my assignments. Whatever comes into my atmosphere today is my assignment. It could be something that's already on my calendar. It could be an unexpected thing. Somebody calls and says, I'm having difficulty. Can you pray for me? What do you think? So give me the energy and the power to handle all my assignments for the day. And then I go into the kitchen and I do my water. Yeah.
Yo. Because you do talk about thank you so much for running us through that. You do talk about the 3 different levels of gratitude. We've got our blessings, we've got our challenges, and we've just got the supreme sort of attitude for
Yeah.
gratitude.
The first one is you're grateful for, you can find stuff to be grateful for. I'm grateful for the body temple. I'm grateful for whatever. And then the second one is you become grateful for your challenges, because inside the seed of a challenge, there's a gift trying to come out. Your challenges are gifts in disguise, because they activate latent powers within you. And so if you become grateful for them and you fall in love with that process, they'll start to reveal their secrets to you. Another one of my great mentors was George Washington Carver, who was a great mystic. Most people think of him as a scientist, but he woke up at 4:00 every morning and talked to the trees and the flowers, and they told him what they were good for. Then he would go into his laboratory and prove it, but he wasn't going in there doing trial and failure.
Random stuff.
No, he was actually getting it directly from nature and then going in and improving it. But he said a very powerful statement. He said, if you fall in love with something deep enough, it will reveal its secrets to you. You see? So you're grateful for the challenges, and you start to really fall in love with it. And another thing that Walter Russell taught was fall in love with what you have to do rather than resist it. Put yourself in and so you fall in love with your challenges. You fall in love with what you have to do. They start to reveal secrets, you see. And then the next level is you're grateful for no reason at all. You're just in an attitude of gratitude. And it's not, I'm getting a ringing in my ear right now. There's not, you're not attaching it to anything. I'm grateful that I have money. I'm grateful that somebody gave me a compliment. No. You're just grateful. Now, this is what happens. I don't know if they do this in your tradition, but in my culture, they would say, if you don't stop crying, I'm going to give you something to cry about. Okay. Well, the universe says, if you don't stop being grateful, I'm going to give you something to be grateful for. So what happens is if you're able to train yourself to release the mind's negative bias of complaint, train yourself to be grateful, even when it's hard, then you're not blocking the blessings of the universe. Because, I teach that there's two levels of bypass. One is spiritual bypass. We all know about that. It became very popular to talk about a few years ago, where you're trying to bypass your emotions or what's going on. Nothing's wrong, and
Suppressing, pushing stuff down into the
suppressing,
corner, and
repressing, all of
yeah.
that. But the great bypass is when the universal blessings are bypassing you because you're not vibrating high enough to receive it. So you're creating a bypass because the universal presence is everywhere, just being itself, but it's bypassing you. Gratitude is a way to receive blessings. So instead of it bypassing you, you catch it. And then it takes you beyond your present paradigm and present way of thinking, and it shocks and surprises you. The good that is here that you can't even see right now, you see. Yeah.
Because when I feel into, thank you so much for sharing that. When I feel into the gratitude and also the big body of work that you sort of espouse forgiveness as well, just to lighten your
Yeah.
load as you go, I feel like it's really interesting because you talk about like elevating our frequency to the point where we're actually able to receive, and it's really like you mentioned this at some point along the way in my research was, human beings, I think it was David Hawkins maybe said this to you, was like, yeah, we can receive 1,000 watts, but then you've had peak experiences where you've been touched by an angel and you're trying to like integrate all of that. Can you describe some of
Yeah,
like
yeah,
how
yeah.
these practices tuck into us building the internal architecture to be able to support wattage for the frequency and the transformations that are coming through?
You're absolutely speaking the truth there, which is why good nutrition is good, which is why yogic practices, qigong, exercise, meditation. It's not vanity. You're actually the body temple is an optic nerve. If the eye is single, the body is full of light. So you're actually building up the inner architecture, as you've just said, to be able to hold more energy. You see, and so when I was with David Hawkins, we used to do seminars together in Sedona, and he had spoken at Agape as well before he passed over. And so one day I was in my living room, and I was walking into my living room, and I said out loud, "Thank you to all my spiritual guides, aides, and helpers, seen and unseen, for being with me today and supporting my effort at being in Christ consciousness and cosmic awareness." And the voice said, a big voice boomed out, "Thank you, Michael," like that, and kissed me on top of the head. And when it kissed me, I was paralyzed. I hit the ground, and I couldn't move for a long period of time. I couldn't move, not even a finger. But I was in bliss. Understand? I was in bliss, but I couldn't move. And then after a while, I could move a finger, then another finger, then pretty soon I could get up, and it was so expanded. It was almost like my first opening as an adult. Like everything was shining and glowing, and there was not a worry in the world, just presence everywhere, life, love, 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 love. So anyway, I go see David Hawkins, and he does his dowsing and he does his kinesiology, and we're sitting there talking. He said, "What's going on, Michael?" And I said, "Man, I got hit. I got kissed on the top of the head. I think it was by an angel, and I was paralyzed." So he gets out his thing and he starts to do his thing. He says, "Woo!" He said, "You were kissed by an archangel." He was vibrating at over 7,000. You could only handle 1,000. That's why you were paralyzed for that long period of time. He said, "It's changed your course again. It's changed your trajectory again."
I can imagine that would
Yeah,
change a thing
yeah,
or two.
yeah. Oh my God. And I was already a believer, but I just felt it was just grace that I got that universal hit. Bam. you know. And so people ask me, "Do you believe in angelic realm?" Yeah. "Do you believe in ancestral realm?" Yep. Do you believe in the direct presence that's never in absence? We can call it God or love. Yep. I didn't read about it in the book. The books just confirmed it, validated it. Yeah.
That grace and guidance that's affording us support from the other side, the more we tune into it, the more we can call upon it, the more support we get. Is that a fact?
Yeah. There's a couple of ways. First of all, the ancestors or your ancestors are watching you, and celebrating when you make a right choice. The angelic realm can only assist if you're in trouble, if you ask for help. They can't intervene. So you have to actually ask. So many people have a practice, and I can remember many people have a practice. I'll share that story in a second. Have a practice of actually on a regular basis asking for help from their ancestors and asking for help from the angelic realm. But as long as you don't get caught in those realms, you actually want to stay with Source as the highest realm. You don't want to just play at the realm of the relative or your relatives. you know but
Yeah.
it's fun.
Mm.
And you probably heard the story when I almost drowned in Costa Rica one year.
No.
And yeah, I was out swimming. Me and my daughter were at the beach, Langosta Beach in Costa Rica, the coast. And we were the only ones on the beach. And I'm a not good swimmer, so I'm swimming. I turn around and I realize I'm way out in the ocean, and my daughter's like a little ant on the beach. And I didn't mean to swim out that far, but I wasn't afraid until I couldn't get in.
Mm.
There was a double rip tide, and I could not. I was swimming, swimming, swimming. I wasn't making any progress,
Yeah.
and I was getting very, very tired.
Mm.
So my daughter senses something is wrong, and she stands up. She's just looking at me, and I just tried to swim to the side to get out of the riptide, but I couldn't. And then I went underwater. I swallowed a lot of water, and I didn't have any fear of death. And I went under. I thought to myself, have you had any precognitive dreams that this might be your last day on the planet? I searched my mind. No, I haven't been. And then I popped up, and it came out of my mouth. I didn't do this consciously. It said, I need some help here. I just said, I need some help here, like that. And then I programmed my mind. I said to the mind, regardless of how tired you get, do not give up. Do not give up. Because when I went under, I thought to myself, if this is my last day, a lot of people are going to be upset. My daughter, my family, my friends, it's not going to be good, And I was afraid of death, but I was just like, oh no, I got to get back. So I said, I need some help here, like that. So then this big wave came, and it gave me some momentum. Then another wave came. I got more momentum. Then the third wave came. I got more momentum. Still took me a long time to get in, but I had momentum. Now I broke free from the rip, and I'm swimming in. I finally get in. I'm tired. I hit the sand. I'm just breathing. I finally get in. And so I fly back to Los Angeles. I talked to a friend of mine who makes her living. She's a medium. She talks to dead people. She talks to, that's what she does. Her name is Alicia Killebrew. So I'm talking to Alicia, and I tell her what happened. And she said, oh, can I look? Can I look? I said, sure, go ahead. So she closed her eyes, and she says, oh my God, you asked for help. I said, yeah. She said, an archangel was going by, and he sent you 3 waves like that. And then she said, they can't help you unless you ask for help. So, and that was a few years ago. So that's a part of what I do. I always ask for help.
Yeah.
And yeah. And so, yeah, that's all of that's real, it's
Mm.
real. So
It's
so
incredible.
when I'm doing my third thing, I'll say, I need help, and I want the energy to handle whatever assignment comes to me today, because I don't know what's going to happen. I have my to-do list, but it always changes.
Hi there, guys. I wanted to take a quick moment just to introduce you to my one-to-one coaching. It's something that I deeply love doing. As you can tell, conscious conversation is such a massive part of my life. And having one-to-one, deep, meaningful conversations with people where I get to show up as your brother or as the coach or as your mentor has been such a gift for me personally, and a gift for lots of the people that I have supported on the journey of living a more spiritually empowered, spiritually powered, spiritually aligned life. You don't have to take my word for it. Here's some examples of people all around the world that have experienced profound transformations through this coaching experience.
Amrit is a fantastic coach.
In a few sessions, he got to a depth that I'd only experienced before working with certain medicines. And
he's gone through a lot of the struggles that you're probably facing. And Amrit's been a really strong, supportive figure in my journey.
In control of myself.
I'm kinder to myself.
I actually have that vision and a purpose.
I do feel like I'm a better version of myself already.
Amazing energy.
He was easy to talk to, which made me easy to trust him.
Working with Amrit at 9 o'clock on a Saturday morning, and really I was bouncing out of bed.
Whenever I get off the calls with Amrit, best money we've ever spent.
I would not recommend him because I don't want everyone to know about him, and then I won't be able to book him. If he gets too busy, I won't get my turn.
I would say absolutely.
There's no way you can work with Amrit for a period of time without being transformed.
So if you're considering him as a coach, do not hesitate, because you won't be disappointed.
Alrighty, so hopefully that's inspiring your evolution onwards and upwards. And if you are so inspired to evolve, you can book in a one-to-one call with me directly at www.amrit.coach/life. And guys, if I can say so myself, I do think this is something quite special. Most people that I see building things online don't really work with people this deeply, this intimately, one-on-one as things start to grow, just because it is so time intensive. And yet I'm so deeply passionate about the transformation that comes from one-to-one coaching that just isn't available anywhere else. It would be my absolute honor and a pleasure to support your spiritual awakening, your spiritual path, your spiritual unfoldment. It is my life's work. I look forward to seeing you in the call. Back to today's podcast. I think when we go back to the 4 levels of consciousness, we've got level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. Level 1, as you describe, is the victim. Level 2, I think you call him the manifester.
Yes.
I lean
You
in
learn
on
how to
his-
manifest.
Yeah,
You
I
learn
call
how to
him the
manifest.
achiever, because there's a lot of achiever frequency in level 2.
Yeah.
And so I got to achieve some stuff, and I set some goals, and I'm gonna go out and get them. And there's no, like, that's perfect, right? But at level 3, it's slightly different. Like it's less. You still need to integrate the achiever and bring them along for the journey, but it's all about, hey, like, I'm gonna just go, like, I'm being called here, or I need to surrender and I need to flow here. And I'm still looking for a word, and maybe you can help me one day with it. I call that person the surrenderer or the flower. Just,
You're it's flow motion.
Flow.
Flow motion.
Flow motion. Yeah, I like it.
So you're being guided and pulled, but you're being guided and pulled by your higher self. It's you. It's you.
Yeah.
You know, but it's operating through you. The presence is operating through you, and you're living a surrendered life, so that you may have goals, but they might be adjusted. You might have a to-do list. It might be adjusted. You may have a plan. The plan might be adjusted because you're in flow. So, oh yeah, let me try it this way. Okay, that didn't work out. Oh, it must be, you're more of and you're more flexible, and then as you pay attention with your intuition, every time you pay attention and you heed the guidance, it becomes easier to hear next time. You start to activate that particular spiritual attribute of hearing without ears and seeing without eyes. And it's a difference. So yeah, like you said, nothing wrong with stage 2, because you really learn about the law. You learn how to manifest. You learn how to govern your word. You learn how to visualize. Those are great tools. And later on, you might use them again. You might be stuck, and you have to go back to the fundamentals, the way that Olympic athletes do. They have a stuck, and then they realize, let me go back to the fundamentals. Basketball player, let me go back to the layup. Let me try to do a 360 and dunk. Let me just do a layup, till I get my groove back again, So there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with any of the stages. And the stages are not linear, which means in one area of your life, you may be a master. You may be totally unconscious. It just works for you. Another area of your life, you might be kind of victimized. So in that area of your life, you do two things. One, you use the tools, visualization, you use all the manifestation tools, and then you use the tool of what I call spiritual shape shifting. And that is, you come into the frequency of your mastership. What does that feel like? You feel into it, and then you take that feeling into the area of your concern while you're visualizing, so that you're actually changing the frequency. So let's say, a person is really healthy. They vigor, vitality, strength, endurance, but financially they're not doing that well. So you go into the feeling of how you feel about your health, and then you take that same feeling, but you begin to think about your prosperity. So before, when you thought about your prosperity, you might think, I don't have any money. I need to make some money. You're sad, but you keep the feeling and you shift it over here and you start thinking, seeing yourself prosperous, but you have the same feeling that you have with your health. So the feeling provides the healing and the revealing. And you're feeling it, you're feeling it, you're feeling it, you're seeing it, you're talking from it. So it's an energetic shape shift. You're actually shape shifting the energy of that part of your life, you see. So it's practice, though,
Because the law of resonance and the law
Yeah.
of attraction, I do want to get in with you for just a sec, but just before I lose the previous train of thought, was when you were just describing intuition to sort of guide us in that level 3 space, there's this really beautiful dynamic, and this is the point I was trying to hone in on with you, is level 3, like, goals serve you in level 2, absolutely, but in level 3, intuition is guiding you as to what's emerging and where you ought to be going. And then also there's this real big rudder on the ship that you're trying to sail in this flow motion, which is your intention. And just intention setting is just, and then the coupling of like intuition and intention, like every year it's like, oh, what's next year going to be about? And instead of me kind of going, hey, what's my mind? It's like, hey, feel into the field. And it's like, this has been a hard year for this. I feel like next year is about peace and prosperity. Can you lean into that? And it's like, well, we'll set the intention and see where it goes. And it's never roses. It's like, usually when you set the intention,
it's have a little fertilizer.
Yeah, the shit shows up. I mean, it gets a challenge and then you sort of break through. But having that rudder is so key, because in certain moments you're like, oh, I'm really in the trenches right now. It's like, oh yeah, that's that intention that was set. And that's kind of what I'm reaping and sowing and weaving and flowing. And the dance between that intuitive and intentional living in that level 3, like your support for me, even just from afar, has been, I can't even express the gratitude for it.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. So many people don't establish intention. They don't have a frequency of intention. They just go out into the world and they react to what's happening. So they are reactors rather than cosmic actors in their own play. They're reacting to something. They're like a bit part in somebody else's play. You know what I mean? Rather than being a cosmic actor in your own play. But you have to have intention to do that. So you can intend to be prosperous. You can intend to be happy. You can intend to be healthy. And then what happens is the places within you that are blocking that will surface. Like you called it, like the shit hits the fan.
The shit shows up. Yeah.
But I often say that people are suffering from an intention deficit disorder. They don't have any intention. What was your intention? I didn't really have an intention. Well, all you did was just bump into the race belief of the world.
That's how you got swept away by the wave. Yeah.
Right. So you have to intend something, and once you begin to intend your goals, see, I teach that there's 3 kinds of people. The first one, they're task oriented. There are people that are task oriented, and so, but they have no goals. They have no plans. And then there are people who are goal-oriented, but they have no purpose. They have no higher purpose, you see. So when they achieve a goal, sometimes they're not satisfied because it's not attached to a higher purpose or a higher vision. So if you have a higher purpose and a higher vision, you will have goals. And if you have goals, you will have tasks. But you're living at a much higher level. It's like I'm living for humanity to wake up to its glorious nature, that we can birth a kind and just global society, a society that works for the highest and best within us all. I have a very high vision, and my purpose is to reflect and to reveal the infinite as only I can. Now, so within that purpose and vision, then there are goals within there. Oh, I like to have this. I like to do this. Let's do this seminar. Let's do this conference. Let's get a building. Let's, here are these goals, which may shift. I'm not going to forget my purpose. I'm not going to forget the vision. And then there are tasks that I may have to do. I may have to, call you and get on and get on your podcast. I may have to, that task, I may have to do some things, but those things are attached to a goal that are attached to a larger purpose and vision, you see. And so when you're living at the meta level, then it starts to guide your goals. You're not just going to nilly-willy say, oh, I want to go make $1 million. Why? Why would I make $1 million?
What's the purpose? Yeah, what's the vision?
What's the purpose? You don't even know what to do with 50,000. Yeah. You're gonna hurt yourself with $1 million.
There's I can see there's like the why of like the purpose and the vision, and then there's the how, and then there's the what of the task oriented, and the how of the goals, and zooming out. And what I would say is, I think for some people tuning in, it's like, oh, but it must just be easier for everybody to operate on the what level, which is why so many people are just staying task-oriented rather than setting goals. But actually, it's, I don't know, maybe it's just my experience, but it changes a lot when you actually have a why. Because, when you
why is important.
Because so many, like, oh my God, I look around now and I wish I don't want to say it this way, but it's become a truth that I just see from coaching so many people. It's like, your expectations are just, man, are like the key source of most people's depressions, I see, is like their expectations for their goals that was set from a place that wasn't guided by grace and guidance. And I'm looking at it, and I'm just like, dude.
It was the 16-year-old self setting the goal. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Or their mother, or their father, or their neighbor.
The person trying to sell them something on television.
They sold it good. Still didn't quite buy it, but yeah. And and watching that sort of, like, those goals can be so like whack yourself over the head kind of vibe, and then all of a sudden just the grace of kind of going why and purpose and allowing yourself to shift. For me, for a while, it was like doing a lot of seminars, talking in front of rooms, Eckhart School of Awakening, Mind Valley, doing a lot of talks. But then all of a sudden, like, the energy was like, it just shifted into more, like, running deeper with the podcast. But it didn't phase me in any way, not to sort of say, hey, I've figured it out. But I just noticed in that field, it was like, hey, I didn't get hung up on like not doing as many seminars. And it was like, why? It's like, well, your intention was very aligned to just supporting, the spiritual development, helping people spiritually align. And the podcast was just kind of naturally emerging. And it was like having that why. I feel for most people, like I said, being task-oriented seems simpler, but in many ways it's not, because you just step into a much, it's more effortless and flowy.
It's a larger field. It's a field.
Please explain that.
Energy. Yeah. We all generate fields, so if you're just task oriented, that field is smaller than if you have a goal or a plan. But when you go into a higher purpose, and that has something to do with you connecting with your authentic self, you start to generate you're in a different field. That field supports you. That field brings grace. It brings things that you can't do humanly. There are things that I've seen in life that I couldn't really do it, but it happened, and we want to live at that level. The average person doesn't even know that even exists. They're working really hard, and I do believe you have to. Grace loves effort. You know what I mean? You want to work, but it's a different kind of work. You're working smart, and when you use the word alignment that I love, you're coming into an alignment with something. It's like an electrician is not working really, really hard and trying to figure out. He just knows what wires to connect and to plug in so that electricity happens and creates luminosity through a light bulb. You know what I mean? It's like he's not going to make electricity, but he knows how to plug in. The average person doesn't know how to plug in, and that's in life. They want light, they want electricity, they want love, they want prosperity, they want all this stuff, but they don't know how to plug in and then glow like Chernobyl.
The good kind of radioactive. I like it. I like it a lot. Yeah. It's yeah, sorry, go on.
No, I was just thinking because so many people, that lived there didn't get affected by the radiation, those monks, as an example.
Really? What?
Yeah, they didn't get cancer. They didn't die because they were vibration, the radioactivity. They were vibrating higher than the radioactivity. That's a whole nother subject, but yeah.
It's a fascinating one.
Yeah.
That's really incredible.
David Hawkins talks about that. He alerted me to that, and that he tested people under different severe situations, standing under fluorescent lights, being around inorganic food, and how your body would go weak. And then he found a group of people that didn't matter. They could be under fluorescent lights, they could be near their cell phone or whatever, and their energy field didn't get weak. So he did a long study to figure out what was the common denominator of these people. And he found out that for 5 years, they had studied and practiced a teaching that believed in oneness. Didn't matter what they called it. It could be Course of Miracles, it could be Beckwith vision, it could be whatever. But they put in enough work where they weren't really living in this world. So they could be in severe circumstances, but it didn't affect them as much as it affected other people. Yeah.
That resilience that comes from spiritual. So one of the things that is just inserting itself into the conversation here is spirituality, spiritual development. Oftentimes, people, when they're waking up to it, they end up like, there's this, I don't want to call it a veneer, but I don't know how to articulate it. There's this sense of sensitivity that they open up to. It's like, oh, I'm more sensitive. Mm-hmm. And you sort of see them and they're walking around a little bit overly jaded, overly wounded, because I'm spiritual now and I'm sensitive to this and I'm sensitive to that. Like, I don't want to put this in the field, but like chemtrails or something like that. It's like, oh, they're impacting my, but I've had a few conversations with some really incredible teachers such as yourself, where it's like, your spiritual development is a strengthening. It's not an overly sensitizing. Like you're actually, like, you're getting stronger with the world. Like, you're not becoming more sensitive and more vulnerable to it.
Yeah. People can do that. I mean, this happened, and people do it in stages sometimes. They become very sensitive, and then they have to switch it and become sensitive to the source. You become sensitive to the beauty that's around you, and that does make you stronger. Like, there are people that are hypersensitive, and there are certain exercises they can do to make themselves stronger rather than just give in to the debris and all of the pollution that's around us. I know people that are very sensitive like that, and as they meditate and as they intend and as they take care of themselves, they do get stronger, and they're able to be in a very severe polluted circumstance and not be as bothered. But we have to put that in people's minds that that's possible, or else they'll walk around just being overly sensitive, and using the gift of sensitivity to be sensitive to all the lower frequencies. I teach people, don't go into a room and pick up vibes. You go into a room and you bring a vibe. You bring the vibe you want to experience. You radiate it, because if you start using your energy to pick up vibes, is this person like me? Forget all that. You walk into a room, you want to feel peace? Before you walk into a room, you feel peace. You magnify it, and you walk in with it, and the highest vibration wins. Everybody starts to oscillate toward the highest frequency, you see. You control the room. You're the thermostat, not the thermometer.
I love that. We go from level 1 to level 2 consciousness from the faculties of questioning where we're at. Level 2 to level 3, we sort of have to let go, like not let go, but it's a tough call because you've kind of set goals for the longest while, and now you're learning to flow and surrender. So it's almost kind of like the tools that got you here won't get you there. You talked about oneness, and that meditation of the 5 years of holding like a practice of oneness has that real capacity to build that strength. What are the tools to get from level 3 to that oneness, or is it just grace that has to find you?
It's grace through your meditation, my feeling. You become receptive, and through your intention to. So you want to intend to wake up. It's like, why am I sitting? I'm sitting because I actually want to wake up to my super soul self. I want to wake up to my real being. I call it super soul self, because it's yourself is right here, and it's wanting to merge and emerge through you. So whenever you have an insight into reality, that you're actually coming in contact with your real self, and then it becomes integrated. So you're becoming more you. You're becoming more you. You're becoming more you. So meditation, I think, is still the foundational piece. And it's not about being a great meditator. It's about being so receptive that that every insight gets embodied, and you start to change. You're becoming more you. So there are many ways to meditate as there are people, but the main thing is, why are you sitting? What is the intention? Am I trying to get rid of a headache? Am I trying to reduce stress? Do I want more energy? These are all nice things. Those are sweet. But actually, you're sitting to wake up. It's like this. This is what it is. Everyone's had this experience. You're sleeping at night. You have an appointment. You gotta wake up at 7 a.m. You didn't set your alarm clock, so you're sleeping. Then you're in a dream state, and you realize, oh, I gotta wake up. And you give yourself a signal. Next thing you know, you're waking up. Oh yeah, it's 5 minutes to 7. I did it. Okay. Meditation is the same thing. You're actually going in, and you're giving yourself a signal. It's time to wake up. It's time to wake up. And then you start to wake up, because we live in this multidimensional holographic simulation of thought and belief. It's a simulation, you see, and you wake up out of it. Oh, like the Matrix. You wake up out of it, you see. And so I teach people. I spoke about this at Agape last week, that when you're in this simulation, so the game is to break free from the simulation and to be in the world. You be in the simulation, but not of it. You're of a much higher vibration, but you're bringing gifts to the world. Love is how you break out of it. So if you're in the simulation and you don't do forgiveness, and you hate, you have resentment, animosity, you're right, and it could be justified. Somebody may have actually stolen from you or done something to you. But if you don't break free from the resentment, you go deeper into the simulation. But when you forgive and love, you start to back out of it, and you break free. So love in your conversation, your intention, your compassion breaks you free from the simulation. You become free, and you look at the stuff that happened to your personality, and it's a joke. It's like, yeah, that happened. Yeah, they stole that. Okay, so what? It's on them. It's not on me.
Connects you back to your soul.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that super soul self. It's, wow, that is just, the alliteration helps anchor it so deep. That's so beautiful. Yeah. I wanted to tune in while you're here. We've talked about emergence a little bit. We've talked about resonance a little bit. You mentioned attraction, radiation. So the law of attraction, you were on The Secret, when it was your body of work that sort of said, yeah, law of attraction is good, but that's out here. There's multiple laws in effect, and there's 4 of them last I checked into your body of work. Can you explain the law of resonance and really where,
the law of attraction. I call it a linguistic convenience for people to understand something. They don't have it, and it looks like they are attracting it to them. So I called the secret a Trojan horse. It was the Trojan horse that snuck into society and met people where they were. You couldn't come into society talking about the quantum field is full of infinite possibilities and this and that. You had to come in with basic stuff.
Yeah.
There's a law of attraction.
Mm.
And if you see it and feel it and believe it, you can bring it to you. Very basic stuff. Put music behind it. You know what I mean? Have the whole thing. So in reality, you're not attracting anything because you already got it. You're basically just making it visible. And so it goes from attraction to resonance. You start to feel it. That's why there's a big emphasis on feeling. You're feeling that you already have it. You're not feeling that it's going to come. Because if you feel it's going to come, that means you don't have it. In your mind, you've created a block. When is this going to happen?
A sense of lack.
My ship hasn't come in. We haven't sent no ships out. So you start to resonate with it. It's happening now. I'm walking and talking and feeling as if it's happening. I'm in resonance with it. And then what am I doing now? Now I'm radiating. It's like I said, you walk into a room, everybody's radiating something, but you're radiating the answer. You're radiating the feeling of abundance, of prosperity, health, joy, love, even before you can see it physically. You're radiating it. And then what happens? Emergence. That which is within you already begins to emerge. And it's not a foreign element coming. Woo! It's you emerging. When you plant an avocado seed in the soil, nothing foreign comes and turns it into an avocado tree. Nothing comes to an acorn and turns it into an oak tree. The oak tree is already in the acorn. It's already in there. The information is in there. You put it in the right condition, and then the oak tree emerges. Now, here's the beautiful thing about us. We are simultaneously the condition and the thing itself. We're both. We're sentient beings. We can think independent of experience. So we become the vibrational condition, gratitude, forgiveness, compassion, generosity, and then emergence. Wow, it shows up. That's how powerful we are. We like the elites don't want the citizens to know how powerful they are. The whole world can stop right now and go into meditation and feel deep peace and love and connection, everybody having all their needs met right now. And they begin to operate like that. And then everyone breaks free from the matrix, breaks free from the simulation of scarcity. You see, we have that kind of power, but we think it's out there. Oh, I want to be like that guy. I want what he has. If only he would help me. No. It's right here. I need some help. It's right here. It's right here. Yeah. We're more powerful than we think.
There's a fundamental piece in there which you helped me reconcile as well, which is there's a difference between wanting and your heart's desire. Because oftentimes we pair the two and then we don't trust our heart's desire. And you go as far as saying our heart's desire and divine will are actually the same thing. Can you help just sort of separate water from oil there?
First of all, when we talk about the will of the divine is always for a greater expression of life. That's the will of the divine. It's not like, well, what is God's will for me? I'm going to be a jockey and run a horse around the track. And no, the will of God is always, whatever is a great expression of life, that's God's will. So your heart's desire has something to do with your expression of life. So God's will and your heart's desire, there's a vibrational match. It's unique because every being is a unique expression of God. God is so infinite that God never repeats itself. It doesn't do do-overs. It got everybody right the first time, but we have to discover that. So my heart's desire is the absolute match to God's will. It's God's will according to my uniqueness. What is our superpower? Our uniqueness. We're incomparable. There's no one exactly like us. Other people can encourage us. They can inspire us. They can teach us. They can mentor us. But ultimately, we have to be ourselves with the same qualities and gifts that everyone else has. And so when I'm in that, that's my heart's desire. And that's God's will. Match. Boom. One and the same. Yeah. And then you have true joy. Joy is the evidence of God.
Hi there, guys. I wanted to take a quick moment just to introduce you to my one-to-one coaching. It's something that I deeply love doing. As you can tell, conscious conversation is such a massive part of my life. And having one-to-one, deep, meaningful conversations with people where I get to show up as your brother or as the coach or as your mentor has been such a gift for me personally, and a gift for lots of the people that I have supported on the journey of living a more spiritually empowered, spiritually powered, spiritually aligned life. You don't have to take my word for it. Here's some examples of people all around the world that have experienced profound transformations through this coaching experience.
Amrit is a fantastic coach.
In a few sessions, he got to a depth that I'd only experienced before working with certain medicines.
He's gone through a lot of the struggles that you're probably facing, and Amrit's been a really strong, supportive figure in my journey.
In control of myself.
I'm kinder to myself.
I actually have that vision and a purpose.
I do feel like I'm a better version of myself already.
Amazing energy.
He was easy to talk to, which made me easy to trust him.
Working with Amrit at 9 o'clock on a Saturday morning, and really I was bouncing out of bed.
Whenever I get off the calls with Amrit, best money we've ever spent.
I would not recommend him because I don't want everyone to know about him and then I won't be able to book him. If he gets too busy, I won't get my turn.
I would say absolutely.
There's no way you can work with Amrit for a period of time without being transformed.
So if you're considering him as a coach, do not hesitate, because you won't be disappointed.
Alrighty, so hopefully that's inspiring your evolution onwards and upwards. And if you are so inspired to evolve, you can book in a one-to-one call with me directly at www.amrit.coach/life. And guys, if I can say so myself, I do think this is something quite special. Most people that I see building things online don't really work with people this deeply, this intimately, one-on-one as things start to grow, just because it is so time intensive. And yet I'm so deeply passionate about the transformation that comes from one-to-one coaching that just isn't available anywhere else. It would be my absolute honor and a pleasure to support your spiritual awakening, your spiritual path, your spiritual unfoldment. It is my life's work. I look forward to seeing you in the call. Back to today's podcast. You had an interesting experience whereby you were flooded with light and you had this visceral realization beyond just the sort of collective, because it gets bandied around, we are light beings, but you actually experienced profoundly that we are beings of light.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've had that on more than one occasion, but the most recent one was probably the first time that it was actually around people. The other ones I was by myself. One time I was in my bedroom, I was in my garage. I mean, it came upon me.
In private.
And I would write about it, tell people about it. But in this particular case, which was January, not this January, previous January, I was sitting in my office about to go on a Zoom, teach a class. And I pretty much meditate before I do anything. So I said, well, give me a few moments. I was sitting and meditating. And then I was flooded by all this light. When I opened my eyes, I couldn't see. I was blind. Light was everywhere. It was pulsating. I was in it. It was in me. It was me. And so I called in a woman by the name of Reverend Kathleen. Her office was near my office. I called in Lee. Her office was to the other side. I said, I have to postpone the class. I can't see. I'm blind. I can't see anything. I said, I'm not afraid. I'm in light. Everything is light. I couldn't see this microphone, nothing. It was just like that. So I sat, and I remember the story. For a brief second, I remember this story that's in the Bible where Saul becomes Paul. Saul is struck down by light, by the Christ, and he begins to speak about the Christ consciousness. But most people don't realize that Saul was blind for 9 years before he went out and started teaching. It took him 9 years to integrate. Really? And then after 9 years, he was blind for 9 years. Then he began his speaking. And he didn't live at the same time Jesus did, you see. he began to speak about this from a direct encounter. So I'm thinking to myself, I don't want this to be 9 years.
9 years.
I'm good with this, but not 9. It was just a fleeting. It was just fleeting.
Angel,
It was just fleeting.
help! No, sorry.
It was just fleeting. And then I sat. So then Kathleen is standing. I'm in a chair facing the computer. Kathleen is standing there and Lee's standing there. I look at Kathleen. So my vision's starting to come back in this dimension. I'm starting to see the table, but I'm still in the light. And I look at Kathleen, and there was a fountain of light like that in her being, like that. Same with Lee. And I realized that's their identity. They're not the body. They're not the body. They're not the clothes. They're not their possessions. We are the light that lights up every being that comes to the planet. I could see it. And so the remnants of that, the residue, is quite profound. You know, we are really light beings, for real. You know, and we have this magnificent light bulb of a body temple, you know, and we have lamp shades that are culture and personality, you know, you can get a lamp with the bulb, and then you have lampshades, you know. So we have culture, you know. Some have more melanin, some have less, you know. Have the lampshades, but inside of all of that is pure electricity, pure light, pure spirit, you know. And if people could see it, they wouldn't go to war. They tell their governments to go to hell. They would not go to war. They would not kill another being. They would not be the pawns. They would not be hypnotized into thinking that somebody over there is their enemy, wherever that is. They once you see it, you say, what am I doing? Why do I have this gun? Who told me that I'm supposed to go? They're way over there. Why am I going way over there? To do what? For what? Let's just bargain with them for their minerals. So let's go steal it. Sharing is caring. I know I'm being a bit odd and crazy, but I'm telling you, when you see the God in somebody, the whole thing changes.
Everything changes.
Everything changes.
Yeah. The name of the podcast is Take Back Your Mind. I think it's a nice taste that everybody gets in this. Like there's a lot to reclaim. There's a lot to reclaim.
What's beautiful about that?
Yeah.
You get wasted time back. Time is not cyclical. I mean, time is cyclical. It's not linear. You think you wasted some years in your life? When you take back your mind and heart and your life, and you begin to have insights, you get all of that back. It's never, you get yourself back. All the pieces that have been cut off and compartmentalized, and I'm not good enough, and I'm unworthy, and look what they stole from me. All that comes back. You go back in time and heal everything. Because the past, the present, and the future are happening simultaneously. So when you have a healing, it heals everything.
Isn't that really trippy that in the quantum, the time is like everything is really now? And
everything's now.
And even just contemplating that my synchronicities now may just be my future self going back and doing some healing and showering me with love right now. Like
absolutely.
Like that stuff blows my mind. And like prayers for
No, I want you to go ahead and finish.
Well, even just prayers for guidance and stuff, and how that's like, I'm praying for guidance, and that may be showing up in the future moment with like, me staring at a clock and 11 showing up and me kind of going, whoa, like I am guided and connected, like the future, the past, all that interweaving and the quantum and the support.
It's non-linear. One analogy I've used over the years, and some of my students like this analogy and they use it. Imagine you're standing up and there's an ant coming out of a hole, and the ant sees a sugar cube in maybe 10 feet away. You're standing looking at the ant. The ant's coming out of the hole. It's like now it's right in. It's halfway between the hole and the sugar cube. So the hole is the ant's past. The halfway point is the present. The sugar cube is the future. But for us, it's all now. You see that? When we look at it, it's all now. But from the ant's little perspective, oh, that hole is way back there in my past.
Yeah.
I'm presently 5 feet away from my future sugar cube. But for us, it's now. And if we wanted to, we could reach in and move the sugar cube. So when you go into meditation and time stops, you can go in and move the sugar cube. When time stops, you come out of time and you pray. Prayer is timeless. It's eternal. So when you pray, you're moving the sugar cube. You're bringing it closer, or whatever you're doing. You're coming out of time, and then your past, your present, and your future become in alignment with the timeless. So you're actually healing your past, and you're healing your ancestral line, and you're healing your descendants. You're changing everything in the quantum soup of interconnectedness. We're all interconnected. And then you take that even further. We're connected to every being on the planet. That's why Jesus said the quantum statement. I've said this for years. As if I am lifted up, I draw all unto me. If I lift my vibration, I'm drawing all of these people unto me. You see, the quantum field, high vibration wins. Yeah.
Is that what you meant when you were saying, I heard a reference somewhere where you sitting in your room, liberating yourself is affecting so many people?
Everybody. We're connected to everyone. We are a holographic expression of the cosmos. That means we look like a part. We're a part. But the whole is here. And that whole contains all beings. We're all meeting at the center. So if I change my mind and point of view, I'm affecting everybody. And it's based on their receptivity, obviously. Somebody may be getting ready to rob a bank, and then they have a second thought about it. It might be because somebody in a whole other city was just having a revelation about oneness and about prosperity. And they were saying, I'm not going to rob this bank. What happened? We don't know. We don't know. There's a story of the Buddha. It's apocryphal. It's an antidote. It probably didn't happen, but he goes to his disciples and he's teaching them meditation, and they become very trained. They become very one-pointed, and then one of them, has something comes up in his mind. The Buddha says to him, "You just called an earthquake in Afghanistan." He says someone else has an errant thought. He says, "You just helped cause a tsunami." He's going on. He's just basically saying, your trained thought that has now gone errant is creating issues around the world or healings. I don't think that actually happened, but it could have happened. But it was a story attributed to the Buddha. We're connected to everybody. So our compassion and our love is affecting everybody. But so is our hate. It could become there's a contagion of hate. There's a contagion of being right and them being wrong. You know what I mean? There's a polarization emotions can be contagious. But the highest frequency always wins. That's why we love Gandhi. That's why we love Dr. King. That's why we love Dalai Lama. That's why we love Nelson Mandela. Mother Teresa. We love these people because, I don't want to over romanticize them, but they held fast to love when it was hard.
Reverend Michael, I find your work always, always, always helping me connect back to the love of what's important, what's right, what's most true. Through your work, I've discovered that actually what's true will never be destroyed. And actually that I got a whole bunch of stuff to clear in the way, and I shouldn't be afraid of clearing it out either, because the truth is, the true part of you is impenetrable. Like it's,
You know, where you can think about it?
Mm.
Is just like if you have a toothache and the dentist goes in, there's a lot of infection there. And, you know, you don't know why you're sluggish. You don't know why you're tired. You don't know why. I just want to sleep. I don't want to do anything. You know, if you have an infection, it draws all of your energy because it's trying to keep the infection from going to other parts of your body. So the dentist goes in, gets the infection out, smooths it over with some ozone, clears up all the stuff. Next few days, you start feeling really good. Oh, I got my energy back. Oh, I can go. So when you talk about we start clearing up stuff, that stuff that's unclear, it's like something on our computers drawing energy, even though you can't see it. It's still taking energy, you know. But when you start to clear it out, you have more energy. You're flying. You're not even listen. You can't add anything to yourself. All you're doing is removing debris. You're already perfect, so you can't add anything. You're just getting rid of stuff that bad beliefs about yourself, unforgivenesses, lies. You're just seeing through it and releasing it, and then when it's all gone, it's like, wow, you've been here all the time. It was just covered up.
Oh my goodness. Oh. Your generosity of spirit, your love for us all is just, I live for it. I highly recommend people please check out the Take Back Your Mind podcast. It is phenomenal. There's beautiful guided meditations that precede or end the episode. It's always such a treat to tune in, and the guests you have on and it's beautiful witnessing, because for myself, there's a lot of education still coming my way, and you know, I'm having conversations a certain way, but from your position and the way you have conversations and dialogue with other people is really, really wonderful to witness as well. I'm a big fan, and yeah, you said Agape is streaming in like 189 different countries. What
the? We've been streaming years before the lockdown of healthy people. You know, and so we were already set up. So what happened is when people got locked down, there was an exponential growth, not only of local people because they couldn't go out, but people around the world found us. And they kept saying, wow, finally a voice of sanity. That's what they were saying about our community. And so they can go to agapelive.com. Maybe you'll have this links in the show notes.
Definitely.
But agapelive.com. They can go to our YouTube channel, my YouTube channel, Michael Beckwith, or Agape's YouTube channel, and watch the services. You can watch it live. You know, what time is it there where you are right now?
8 a.m.
Okay, 8 a.m. So it's I don't know what time it is here. 2 or 3 o'clock. I don't know. No, it's about 4, I guess. I don't know what time it is.
Yeah,
I'm not good with time. But so a lot of times people. You know, so at 6:45 a.m. I do a way of meditation service. I do a Dharma talk and we practice. At 8:30 a.m., someone leads a meditation. At 9 o'clock, I have a full-on celebration service in which I speak. And then at 11 a.m. Pacific time, there's another meditation, and then I speak again. So people are tuning in at different times when they're waking up. And then some people are watching it on the repeat on YouTube or on our website or on our Facebook page later. So by the end of the week, we got 30, 40,000 people that have watched and participated. And then by the end of the month, there's, you know, way more, you know, because people will watch it depending on their time zone at their leisure.
Yeah.
You know, like we have people in China, I think it was China, yeah, that watch it at night. They watch the service at night. It's our daytime. They're watching it, you know. Yeah.
Oh, I'll put a link to all of that in the YouTube description in the show notes below. Michael, making it say I have to thank you for today's podcast makes it sound like it's a chore. But what I actually mean by that is obviously thank you so much for your time and energy today. And yet all the work you do in the world and, you know, the lifetime's worth of work that you put into yeah, just supporting your work, your love, your light, your joy, your abundance, to the point where it influences so many of us. And I know your work has impacted me in such a way, and I'm a coach and mentor to others that, you know, supports people on, and just even just that, just knowing that, you know, we're rippling on and we're rippling on and we're rippling on. I'm eternally grateful for your being, brother. Thank you so much for doing this with me here today.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your presence. I appreciate what you're doing. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for the invitation. I'm glad I could drop by and hang out with you for a while.
Inspired soul, you've made it all the way through to the end of a really incredible episode here on the Inspired Evolution. As always, just a friendly reminder that everything you see around here is powered and empowered by your subscription to the channel. So please do take a moment to subscribe to the channel. It helps with everything that we're doing here, inspired, awakening, evolving, transforming together. Now, on screen, to continue your journey, stay inspired, keep evolving, is another episode for you to dive in even deeper into your journey and your path of awakening and evolution. So feel free to pick one, and I'll see you in the next episode. Go on, click on it. I'll see you there.